Joining me now is RNC Chief Strategist and Communication Director Sean Spicer. Sean, you heard Elise. To her point, we're not talking about the same intelligence community responsible for weapons of mass destruction 13 years ago. So why was that statement made?
If you bear with me a minute, there's a lot to unpack here. Let me just start with, before the election, it was the Democrats who questioned if Donald Trump lost, would he accept the results of this election. He won overwhelmingly, 306 electoral votes, 2,300 counties, 9 of 13 battleground states. And it is now the Democrats and the media who are questioning the validity of this results. So it's amazing where we've come. But let's get back to where we are now. The report that the Washington Post put out, and Elise said this, that all 17 agencies agreed on this. False. Here's what the Washington Post said. The report fell short of a formal assessment because minor disagreements among the agencies had some questions remaining. The CIA then refused to comment. So let's be honest about what's going on. Then let's look at what the New York Times reported. They based that conclusion, meaning the intelligence agency, on another finding, that the Republicans hacked the Republican National Committee's computer system in addition to their attacks. That's false. So the intelligence is wrong. It didn't happen. We offered the New York Times conclusive proof that it didn't happen. They refused to look at that. They ignored it because it didn't fit the narrative. The bottom line, Michael, is the intelligence is wrong because they're writing that the conclusion that they came to was based in part on the RNC was hacked. It wasn't hacked. We have intelligence agencies that we work with that were willing to help sort this out. They refused to look at that because it didn't fit the narrative that the New York Times wanted to write. It is reprehensible what they have done. And so I do question so many of these things. One, if that's how the intelligence was based, then it clearly is wrong, and we were willing to offer proof to that point. Second, the report was not conclusive among the 17 intelligence agencies. They admit that. Three, if the CIA is so convinced of this, why won't they go on the record and say that it was, as they did with the DNC? This is, I believe that there are people within these agencies that are upset with the outcome of the election and are pushing a personal agenda. But the facts don't add up. And I think that the idea that the media immediately sides with these unnamed sources is a problem. You guys are willing to run with whatever comes out as unnamed sources from unnamed agencies, and yet the CIA itself won't go on the record.
Sean, come on. I am sitting here as first of all, to your first point. To your first point, the reason that Donald Trump was questioned so often as to whether he'd accept the result, if I have to remind you of this, is because Donald Trump himself was casting doubt before the election on whether he was going to accept the result of it. That's why all the questions came his way. I'm not sitting here as a Democrat. I'm not sitting here as a Republican. I'm not even sitting here as an independent. I'm sitting here as an American who is so frustrated by the idea that people are suiting up in their usual jerseys on this issue, respectfully including you, and instead of uniting against a common enemy, in this case, Putin and Russia, and being pissed at the idea that he put his thumb on the scale in our election. Instead, you look at the result of the election and you decide, well, we like the result of the election, and therefore we don't want to deal with this anymore.
Hold on. Wait. Just stop for a second. I'm not suiting up. I'm actually using facts. Facts that the Washington Post even put in there. This is what they wrote. They wrote that the 17 agencies couldn't conclude with certainty what happened. They wrote that, not me. They also wrote, the New York Times wrote, that the RNC had been hacked. That's false. Why is the disposition that
How do you know it's false?
Them? Because we work with intelligence agencies. Hold on, Michael.
Okay,
Michael, hold on. We were willing to offer the New York Times inside access to know what happened. We were willing to offer them proof. They chose not to engage in that conversation, not us. I sat there with senior folks from the New York Times last night and said, I will bring you inside. We will give you access to certain things so that you can see that we are telling the truth, that we can prove this. They chose not to engage in that conversation because it didn't fit their narrative. So when it comes, respectfully, we are the people actually trying to show this. So please don't turn around and put it on me. This is what we are trying to work with these agencies and these reporters to get it right.
You are saying, just so I'm clear,
that's not on me.
Okay, all right, I want to understand. I want to understand facts. You are telling me that you know to a certainty that the RNC was not hacked by the Russians or anyone else. And so to the extent, whether it's the Post, the Times, CNN, to the extent that anyone reports, including the CIA, that the RNC was hacked, Sean Spicer knows that to be a falsehood.
I know that we have worked with intelligence agencies right now that are saying that we have not been hacked. Our own systems show that we have not been hacked. I'm not a forensic, computer person, so I can't say it with but I know that the intelligence agencies that we are working with tell us with certainty that we haven't been hacked. We've said it before, and we've tried to work with these media outlets to explain that to them and to show them it. They've chosen not to engage in that conversation. That's not my fault, Michael. So, and again, look at what the reports, if they're so certain it happened, why won't they go on the record and say it? I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. Go out there and say,
okay, there's an obvious answer to that, which is, there's an obvious answer to that, I imagine, which is to say that they don't want the Russians to know of the way in which they've been able to assemble this case. Let me move to a slightly different aspect of this.
Hold on. No, that's not true. No. But no, please don't make excuses for them. They did when they came.
I'm not making excuses for anybody.
They came out, and hold on, Michael. They came out and said with respect to the DNC, and the DNC confirmed it. Okay, so I don't understand why. Look, there is questions on that side. We've been willing to talk to people to show that it wasn't true, and people are willing to ignore it. So on the flip side, there was a difference when it came to what happened on the DNC. And I'm just trying to get the facts out there. And somehow it's, well, you must be lying. You must not be accepting the facts. I'm actually trying to get the truth out there.
I didn't say that to you. Okay. Sean, different aspect of this.
No, Michael, the implication, hold on, Michael, with all due respect, you said that why won't we accept the facts and we're suiting up and taking our positions. No. I'm actually trying to get the facts out. I'm trying to make reporters understand what's really happening and actually bring them into the process.
No, I'm making a different point.
Right.
I'm actually making a different point. I'm casting doubt on whether Sean Spicer could definitively know the answer to the question of the extent of the Russian hack. And my frustration is at the idea that until this thing is fully developed already, President-elect Trump is saying, move on, folks. There's nothing to see here. But I need to ask you an additional question.
No, but
speak to the point that I'm. Wait. I want you to address this.
Michael,
I'm also concerned. Come on. I'm being fair to you, but I got to get a word in every once in a while. I'm also troubled by the idea that my president-elect, he's going to be all of our president, is already throwing under the bus the intelligence community with whom he's going to have to work on life and death matters. Wasn't that a troubling thing to do at 9:34 last night
Michael, the New York Times, in their story, said that they based their conclusions on the fact that the RNC was hacked. Okay, if the RNC was not hacked, then that casts doubt on their conclusions. I don't understand why this is that difficult to understand. If you're basing something
regardless of whether the RNC was hacked, and that would be a big and new development, I think we know to a certainty, given Podesta and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, that the DNC was hacked. Why aren't we as Americans upset about the fact that a foreign hostile actor, apparently, put its thumb on the scale in our election? And why doesn't Donald Trump want to get to the bottom of that as he takes office? That's the issue.
Well, first of all, there's one is I am outraged. I don't think any foreign entity, any individual, any entity.
Well, why don't you say that? And why didn't Trump say that in the statement
Michael,
last night? That's what I haven't heard.
Stop and let me. Okay, I just said it. Let me actually take yes for an answer. I said it. Okay? I don't think, Donald Trump doesn't think, no one thinks that a foreign entity should be interfering with the U.S. elections. Bottom line, full stop, I said it. Now let's get to the next thing. What proof does anyone have that they affected the outcome? Because I've heard zero. Okay? So show me what facts have actually shown that anything undermined that election. Donald Trump won with 306 electoral votes, 2,300 counties. 62 million Americans voted for him. So what proof do you have, or does anyone have, that any of this affected the outcome of this election?
I'm just an American who's trying to discern all that I'm reporting on and reading.
Then answer the question, Michael.
Yes.
You're asking me, show me give me one fact that an outcome was changed.
Ask Debbie Wasserman. I can't say that it impacted the ultimate outcome, but that it took place. Ask Debbie Wasserman Schultz. To be continued. I do appreciate your being here. I really do. I'd love, by the way, to talk to your boss on this. He's a watcher. He tweets about my show. Mr. President-elect, I'll treat you with dignity and respect. Come here and let me ask you these questions. Thank you, Sean. I do appreciate you.
Okay. This is